the fun things that we've found with Texture Magic is that depending on how you stitch, you can get a totally different look. So Heather has stitched up some samples here to show you that you can get very different looks stitching on a grid, but instead of stitching straight stitches, stitching with a serpentine stitch, which is still a straight stitch. You're only stitching in a straight line, but your machine's doing the work for you. You set it on the stitch that goes like this, and the machine does all the work. All you do is stitch straight lines. But you will get a totally different look by doing that. The other thing that can give you a totally different look is adding a layer of batting in the fabric sandwich. So if you look here, we took a layer of Texture Magic, we added some fabric on top, and Heather stitched that. On this one, she took a layer of Texture Magic, she put a layer of batting on top of that, her fabric was on top, and then she stitched. So it's Texture Magic, batting, fabric, then stitch it. That's the same thing she did on these two samples. Just fabric and Texture Magic. This one has the layer of batting added in between. So let's look and see how different those look when they're texturized.
This time we're going to steam it from the front to see if there's any real difference, because sometimes if you have an iron and you're worried about the back, we can actually steam it from the front. So I'm going to put it right on.
Which you could do even if it was an iron, because you're not worrying about touching the Texture Magic. That's so cool.
And there.
Wouldn't that make a great piece of grass for a landscape quilt?
Yes.
Ooh, that's pretty.
So that was steamed from the front, and it lays flat on the back. We've achieved that goal. Now let's try it with the batting and see how that affects it differently. Again, I could steam this from the back if I wished.
Whoa. Oh, isn't that pretty? This reminds me of almost a puff quilt, yes. Just by adding that layer of batting, you've achieved an entirely different look. Same stitch, same fabric. The only difference between the two of these is that this one has a layer of batting, this does not. And the choice of batting makes a difference, and we will show you some examples of things that were stitched using other battings. Our batting of choice is wool, which is what we've used on here, because it stays so nice and puffy and really fills those shapes nicely. But you can use other battings as well, and we will show you some examples of those.
And what we found with the wool is it's very light, and it doesn't add any density at all to your project, so that you can cut it up and work with it very well. And we love Pellon wool. Now let's try it with the serpentine stitch.
I love the serpentine stitch because it takes the grid away and just leaves you with the wonderful texture, but you don't notice the grid in that the same way that you would in this piece.
Now let's try it with the batting.
I could see doing something with batting and a fabric and doing kind of circular shapes. Wouldn't that make great pebbles for a riverbed or a cobblestone lane or a house made with rocks? Oh, that's nice.
Or even roof.
A roof.
Roof tiles.
Yeah. Tree trunks. There's so many things. Can't you get your creative juices going and think of some of the things you could do with this?